What's up, and welcome to Clarity for Parents of Athletes, bringing you stories from professional athletes about their parents and how they were raised. My name is Gabe from aclearmind.com. All right, welcome to episode 16. I hope you've enjoyed all the interviews, all the other episodes with just myself. If you have, I invite you to please review, rate, share on whatever platform that you listen to, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher. What else is there? YouTube. I think that's all. So I appreciate however you're listening, or through my website, of course, aclearmind.com. I really appreciate you listening, and again, invite you to share it so more people can hear, and whenever you rate it and review, more people can see it as well. So I invite you to do those things. In the last episode, I said we have some really exciting interviews coming up, so this is the first one today. But before we get into that, I do want to let you know that I'm always available if you want to chat with me, if you want to leave me a voicemail through my website, aclearmind.com/podcast, or you can go to speakpipe.com. It's speak as in like you speak, and pipe, P-I-P-E, like people smoke out of. And it's /clarity4. So speakpipe.com/clarity4. And you can leave me a voicemail about anything you want to talk about. If there's something you want to share on an episode, let me know that as well, and I'll put your recording on there. Other than that, I'm always available to come work with your group, or I also work with individuals as well. You can see that information on my website as well, aclearmind.com. Now, a little bit about our next professional athlete, AJ Bramlett. I remember watching AJ play basketball in high school here in Albuquerque, where we both grew up, and he was an outstanding player, blessed with this deadly combination of size, quickness, and agility. He destroyed my high school team several times. It was a little frustrating to watch for sure. But his abilities on the court caught the eyes of many top college basketball programs, and decided to eventually attend the University of Arizona and play for legendary coach Lute Olson. And he helped the Arizona Wildcats in the 1997 season win the national championship as well. So, I mean, that team was full of NBA talent, not just AJ, but guys that you've probably heard of and remember very well, like Jason Terry, won an NBA championship with the Dallas Mavericks, Mike Bibby, Miles Simon, Michael Dickerson. AJ made it to the NBA and played also in Europe for several years before retiring and coming back to live in Albuquerque. So, big-time player. As always, we look into his sports journey and how his parents guided him as well, and what it's like for him as a father of three to guide them, because they all play sports as well. So what is it like now for him to take his turn at parenting an athlete? And just like I've been doing for the last few interviews that I've released, please make sure and listen to my takeaways from this interview, which delve in deeply and tie into the work that I do as a transformative coach, which is always designed to help you as a parent or help other parents out there. And of course, that trickles down to the children as well. So enjoy. All right, AJ Bramlett, I really appreciate you being here. Before we get started, though, I do feel it's necessary on my end to clear the air a bit. So back in, I think it was your sophomore year at the University of Arizona, you came to play New Mexico in the pit, and I was a student at UNM at the time, and I was at that game, and I may have said some things that weren't of the kindest nature towards your team. So, I'm a changed man, but I did want to apologize for that. I'm a different person these days, and it was all due to probably being upset that you didn't choose to play at UNM and instead you went over to U of A.
Well, I forgive you. So
okay, I appreciate
many years
that.
have passed. It's water under the bridge now, man. It's good.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Anyway, thanks for being here. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. Now, the way I usually start the interviews, I like to go back in your life, way back, to the beginning. So before you were a professional basketball player, before your time as a national champion at the University of Arizona, I want to get to know the young AJ Bramlett, where he came from, what sports did he play, all that. So I'll let you take it away.
Sure. Oh yeah. So I'm originally from DeKalb, Illinois, which is a little bit outside of Chicago, and lived there all the way up until fourth grade. Um, in fifth grade when I moved to New Mexico. But growing up, I've kind of played all sports. Definitely was heavy into soccer as a kid, baseball, basketball, and then actually my dad had a really fond love for tennis, so played
Mm.
tennis and never played like organized, but we played all the time, just outside at the local tennis courts, which is kind of continued on today for me. I've always had a love for it, so um, yeah, but heavily into baseball, soccer, and basketball, really, all the way up until high school.
Nice. So besides basketball, what was your second favorite sport?
I would say I like baseball. I did. I really enjoyed the game. I enjoyed playing with my friends. It got to the point though where, as you know, when you can't hit a curveball anymore, or you can't, it's kind of your career stops, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of how it was for me around seventh grade. But I played all the way up through there, and soccer was great too. I mean, soccer is an incredible sport. Um, just to enhance your overall athletic ability, the footwork definitely translates to basketball. So that was
Hmm.
always, I thought, a big help for me, especially being, a tall kid most of my life and, one of the taller kids always in my grade. I think that really had a, really strong effect on my footwork and balance and all the stuff that kind of aided me as I became, a grown up, older athlete. So I was really thankful for soccer. I enjoyed that too. So really, really all of those, I had a passion for, but it just got to the point where my size and, body type and everything would just kind of lend itself to the basketball side of things once I got to the high school level.
Yeah, there's not too many 6'10" soccer players out
Not
there.
too many, no.
Yeah.
No. Could have been the first. You never know, man. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You would have been a great
yeah,
center back, or a goalkeeper, obviously, as well.
yeah.
It
And
would
I
have been
played
nice
goalie
to
too. Yeah.
see you back there. So, did you get to choose these sports yourself, or did your parents have influence on that?
The good thing about my parents was they didn't force me into any sport. They kind of gave me just an open platform to try stuff and see which ones you liked. I mean, which ones I was good at, which ones I thought I had maybe a future in as I got older. But really, it was kind of just throw me in anything, and I think that that's a good kind of way to go about it. Just let your kid kind of decide what they want to do, and obviously. Usually, when you're good at something or you have some kind of success or talent for it, I mean, you want to work harder at it and do better at it. But there was never any like forcing me into basketball or any sport. So I was kind of thankful, that they took that kind of approach.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and it's something I've been thinking a lot about lately is that success, and it makes so much sense when you think about it, but maybe not at the time, as a parent at least, that yeah, when your child has success, it encourages them to want to do things more and more in their lives. So, when did you first feel like, all right, I think I'm really successful at basketball and I'm starting to fall in love with it and I want to see where this goes?
Well, I mean, but saying that, my parents didn't force me into playing basketball. My dad obviously played basketball and loved it. So I had a basketball, stuffed basketball in my hand when I was, 5 years old. So I don't know if that was a subtle influence or
Right.
what it was. But, I always enjoyed basketball. Yeah, I always liked it. So, I was playing that when I was, 6, 7 years old in YMCA. And it was always a constant sport that I played. So, I was always tall. I never really had like a huge growth spurt, so I was always like one of the tallest kids in my grade. And so, basketball obviously that kind of fits your overall, stature and body type. And I just enjoyed it. It's a fun game. It's a team game, and I thought once I got to middle school, I could kind of see That I was, obviously one of the taller kids, and I was playing basketball every day. I was putting work into it. I was going to the park shooting on my own. Um, I just enjoyed the game so much, and I played, as I said, I played all of those sports, baseball and soccer, all the way up until high school. Um, and then I just really started getting serious about, hey, I think basketball is my path. This is the way to go. I actually wanted to, try something new, like running track at high school, or trying out for baseball and trying to continue that. But it just, I thought my parents and I made a decision that I think basketball is your way to go, and well, now what's our plan on trying to make you the best player that you can be and allow you the opportunities to continue to improve.
Mm-hmm. And how did they support you getting to your potential?
They did a great job. I mean, any camps that were available, or back it's different. Back when I was in high school than it is now, where there was trainers everywhere, and skill specific trainers, and camps every weekend, and skill development and all that stuff that really wasn't around. When I was coming up in high school, so you put in a lot of work on your own, but at the same time, if there was a camp, a team camp, I went to the team camp for University of Wisconsin, and I went to the Lobo camps and all of those camps. Anytime there was an opportunity for me to go play, they did their best to allow me the chance to go compete and get better. And um, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was strategic back then. It was just what's available and how can we get them into it. I
Mm-hmm.
think nowadays it's a little more strategic in what camps you go to, and how you can get the most exposure and all those type of things. But back in the day, it was kind of just let's find the best opportunities for you to play against good competition and improve.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more available to kids now, and people are trying to make money off youth sports as well. So,
Absolutely.
you know, they have the intention, of course, to help children, but it's a business after all, and makes a lot of money for a lot of people. So, how do you think how you grew up with, what you talked about that you had to do a lot on your own, whereas now it's almost like what I see is that there's so much structure that children rarely do things on their own these days. And it's more about the structured activities and camps and training, whether it's team training or one-on-one training. So, how do you think that's affected the game and affected players these days?
I think there's both. I think you're absolutely right. Just to start off, but I think that there's been positives and negatives to that. That I train kids now, and I work with kids and help them develop and do that. But I mean, you have to have a real to be the best that you can be. You have to have a real passion for the game, and you have to go out there and put in work on your own. And really, the thing that I think is missing a little bit nowadays is creativity from the basketball side.
Hmm.
Everybody kind of trains the same way, right? So you teach these moves, you teach dribble moves, you teach finishing moves, and kids are really good at doing all of those moves because they're getting taught that at a much younger age. But everyone's game is kind of the same. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it seemed like when I was watching guys back in the day in the NBA, and guys had really varied styles of basketball, like how they played and how they scored, and stuff that was more unique to them, and not just kind of an overall doing a two dribble step back or fadeaway jumper or whatever what it is now. I just think that the creativity has kind of been stifled, to be honest. And it's not bad. I mean, players are a lot better now. Kids are a lot better at younger ages, and they're learning all these, tactical moves and moves to finish on offense and things like that. But I just I miss a little bit of just guys having kind of their own like unique style of game. So that's kind of my point.
Yeah, in my work that I do with athletes and even with clients that are not athletes, I talk about the intellect versus intuition.
Right.
The intellectual side, that's where you're learning what you're talking about, the tactical decisions, how to do things the right way, the quote unquote right way, the way that the coach wants you to do them, basically. But to play with intuition. That's something that I've seen in basketball drop off and really in a lot of sports that I've seen as well. So to be able to trust your instincts and to trust your intuition and just go and be unpredictable and to figure things out on the fly is something that I think has lost its luster. So how do you think players can balance between having both of those because they're both important?
Yeah, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about. I mean, you need the structured, workouts. You need your coaches and skill trainers to kind of teach you what's out there. But then I think the creativity comes from going on your own. Comes from me going to the park and trying different moves and figuring out what kind of works for you and where you can score from on different angles, what feels good. I think that comes with kind of just diving into your own game without direction from, a coach or a trainer. And once you can mix both of those things together, I think you find a really unique and strong, game that you'll be able to play because you can kind of lean on both sides, as you said, not just be so kind of robotic into, okay, I'm going to do this move here in this situation. I'm going to do this move here. It's kind of free flowing and kind of mending the two together to get to your ultimate goal, which is to have a unique and powerful, game when you're on the court or field.
Yeah, that's definitely the right answer. And I talk to a lot of parents who know that, yet they have a hard time, or their child has a hard time on their own, just being like, all right, I'm going to go out and going to do this. And then the parent feels obligated to push them into, like, hey, why don't you go outside and juggle or dribble a basketball or shoot a basketball? So, you're raising young athletes right now, and so a little bit of advice for other parents who want to try and get their child out there on their own to develop that creative side and to develop that work ethic on their own. Like, how do you go about doing that as a parent?
Yeah, I mean, I fight the same battles. I mean, I have two. I have a daughter who's 16 that's playing, high level soccer right now, and then I'm raising two boys that are 13 and 10, Dalen and Drew, that are doing a little bit of everything. And I mean, I think it's it's kind of a generational thing too, as well. I think it's just kids aren't outside as much. They don't just go
Mm-hmm.
explore. It's a lot of it's very protective, and I can understand that to a certain point, but also we need to allow our kids opportunities to learn on their own and to make mistakes, even to fall down, even to get hurt, even to you know uh, scrape your elbow at the park, playing when mom and dad aren't there. Just kind of give them opportunities to learn and um, navigate the world on their own. And so, I do, encourage my kids to, hey, just go to the park, with your brother, or go ride bikes or whatever it is. Go shoot at the park. Just, go outside for a little bit. And, I think that's just kind of a battle that all parents face, to be honest, because of, digital generation, what it is now. There's a lot more distractions than there was
Mm-hmm.
even when I was in high school and, coming up in college and things like that. I think there's just a lot more going on. And so, I think, but the most valuable lessons they learn are when they're kind of on their own. They can, you know, either succeed or fail or, work through it. Kind of just having an experience where it's not directed by somebody. It's them learning on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read an article recently exactly about that, and parents who, they're protecting their children, which is what we should do up to a point, but there's again that fine line of protecting your child and letting them experience the world. And it sounds like you're guiding your children to do stuff outside of the house and to go out, but not necessarily push them like, hey, go out on your own and take 100 jump shots.
Right. And I mean, I do that too. Don't get me wrong. But if that comes in the way is, you really can't force your kids to do anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
But what you need to do is, what I do is just explain to them from my path through sports, my path through playing professional sports, just try to impress on them what it actually is going to take for them to even, you know, advance to be on a high school team or be on a college team. Or if you're lucky enough, one of the, small percentile of all the athletes in the world that get to play professionally, how do you get there and what is it going to take from you on your end personally to do it. It does take sacrifice. It does take going outside and shooting 100 jump shots. Um, but I can't force you to do that. I can explain it to you and, you know, kind of tell you how it worked for me, how it didn't work for me, what I could have done better. But in the end, it's going to have to be their passion for the game, them wanting to do it, and then offering them the opportunity to go. Now, some of the greatest times are when my boys come and say, "Hey, Dad, let's go to the gym." You know,
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to the gym. Like I'm not making them go to the gym. They're saying, "Hey, let's go to the gym and shoot," instead of play video games or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or play Fortnite or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Like it's a balance, but like I think you just need to kind of build on that. You need to um, explain to them what it's going to take, and then uh, organically, I think it'll happen if they have the passion to want to um, advance and get better at it and really take it on seriously as something that they want to do, like for a lifelong thing.
Yeah. So you talked about that you had a passion within yourself and your dad played basketball. Now, what level did he play basketball?
He played college through
Okay.
college.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I can see you were basically born with a little stuffed basketball in your hand.
yeah, I have a picture of it. It's like a Pittsburgh Steelers jumpsuit and a yellow
Ah, nice.
basketball.
Perfect. Awesome. Um,
I won't send that to you though.
okay, yeah, we can use that for your
Yeah,
photo on my website. That'd be pretty
yeah, awesome.
nice. Um, so with I kind of experienced that myself. I'm obviously big into soccer, and I at one time was like, all right, my son is going to be a soccer player, and I kind of had that stuffed ball for him as well, that stuffed soccer ball.
Sure.
Did you ever grow up feeling pressure because your dad played basketball at a high level?
I did not. I didn't feel pressure because my dad never really put any on me. I mean, we went out and had fun with the game of basketball. He taught it to me. Um, but neither of my parents were ones that were driving me to be like, okay, now you're going to go to University of Arizona. You're going to do, it wasn't, they didn't have that kind of approach. So I never really felt, pressured. So I really enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Um, I was just able to kind of develop on my own because I wasn't, they didn't, weren't like, okay, we need to get you ranked this high. We need to do this. There was none of that. And so it was kind of just me going along my path and then presenting the opportunities for me to get better. So it was kind of a more comfortable process, I think. And I thank them for that. Now, my kids, I think that they've they might feel a little bit differently just because of you know where I played and I played professionally and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't want them to feel that pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and so I do everything that I can not to put any of that onto them because honestly, I really don't care if they play basketball at all. I
Mm-hmm.
just want them to be happy in their lives doing something. I still want them to be, athletic and doing something physical because I think does wonders for your overall life. Just staying in a healthy lifestyle and exercising. But as long as they're doing something that they enjoy and that they love and they are happy in their lives, then that's my goal, ultimate goal. If that comes through basketball, great. If it comes through something, anything else, I'm all there for it to support them on that journey.
That's great. Beautiful. So, do you ever catch yourself like, AJ, all right, I think what you just said or what you did put a little pressure on the family, on the kids?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, I don't feel like I do,
Mm-hmm.
but just like I kind of like we discussed a little bit earlier, though, I when I see them not going to work out or not putting in the extra work,
Mm-hmm.
I do have to remind myself, like, hey, come on, they're like, they're 10 and 13. You know what I mean? They have time. They have, but I think at that time, sometimes I can catch myself being like, "Whoa, come on, guys, you got to go do it." You know what I mean? But I'm trying to find that balance constantly of you know encouraging them, um, pushing them gently, but not being overbearing and not making sports the be all end all because it's really not. Like something that can enhance and provide great opportunity for you in your life um, if it's handled the correct way. And if you enjoy it and you want to really make that your focus, then I will support you all the way, for that. If you choose, something else, whether it's, we always academics is always a part of it, but if it's another sport or it's, my older son is very into graphic design and drawing and things like that. Like it doesn't, um, I encourage it all, to be honest. I mean, I want them to find their path, and just do the things that they really love to do. And I think that's what we're all in search of is, being able to live your life doing the things that you really enjoy doing.
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds like you're trying to get them to be well rounded individuals instead of
Correct.
just driven athletically.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's important because you can lose, especially even when you get to, high level college pros, you can lose your balance, and that you can lose that every game that happens, every play that happens is life or death, and it's
Hmm.
not. In sport, it just isn't. And so, if you can kind of establish that early on, that there are other things outside of sports, and sports are important, and they can do great things for you and can take you a long way. But it's not the end of the world. And I think that a lot of kids and parents, I think, feel like it is. Like this one tournament in summer of
Hmm.
the third grade year is going to it's going to decide whether they get to make it to college or not. And so just try to stay away from that and just kind of enjoy life in a more well-rounded uh, way.
Yeah, so half a step sideways here. Now, your sons are your biological children, and your daughter is through marriage.
Correct.
So you're the first step parent that I've interviewed. And I grew up with a stepdaughter as well who played water polo and rugby. So I want to hear about your experience as a step parent in regards to athletics. And she played soccer, so it's a sport that you played when you were younger, but not at a high level like you did basketball.
Right.
So what was that experience like for you?
It's been awesome. I mean, she, her name is Oceana. She's incredible. I mean, we actually were in San Diego last weekend. She was out playing with the developmental academy in California, and it's different when you're a stepdad. Now, see, I grew up with my parents were divorced when I was in fourth grade, and both remarried. So I grew up with a stepdad and a stepmom my entire uh, childhood life, really. So it's it's definitely a um, different position to be in. But my stepdad supported me totally throughout my athletic career, which I was very thankful of. Provided a lot of financial support, for camps and those things and those opportunities that I needed to go to, which really helped me on my journey. And so, really, with Oceana, it's just being a support system for her and being there to answer questions. Now that she's kind of moving, getting close to, she's going to be in her senior year now, and getting close to making college decisions and things that are really going to affect her life. I just try to be a sounding board for her, answer the questions that I can, that related to my experience, and really just we're lucky that in our family, we're lucky that kind of all of the parents divorced, remarried, everyone's kind of, on good
Mm-hmm.
terms and everyone gets along. And it's really been, that's a highly positive and, thing for the kids. And so like we traveled with, Oceana's dad, last weekend to San Diego. We all hung out all weekend, just kind of enjoyed her sports experience. So she's got, and all of the kids really have, a good, solid support system, which is nice to have. So yeah, it's just, I mean, I think as a step parent, you're just kind of pick your spots and try to influence when you can, and if they seek out, guidance and more guidance from you, then you provide it. But it's kind of a balancing act, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for people who don't know, Oceana is from New Mexico and moving out to San Diego, as AJ said. She's going to play with a DA, a development academy out there. And in New Mexico, we don't have a development academy. So there are some top players who move out of state to go play with these DAs and to play at a higher level more consistently. So, how has that transition been for her? Because there are a lot of parents who think about sending their children away to help them reach their potential outside of where they live.
Sure. I mean, it's been exciting for her. but also at the same time, I mean, it is a, it's a transition. Leaving, making a commitment like that, like kind of we talked about earlier, like when you get to a point where you really want it and you really want to, make soccer your life path and really see what the most you can get out of it, then you have the opportunity, then you take the opportunity. So, it's tough for her, but also at the same time, she's excited because that's what she wants to do. And so, she has one other teammate that's from New Mexico that's actually on the team, which I think helps a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time for her. We're just kind of getting into the reality of her moving now,
Mhm.
so I think it'll be a process throughout the fall, but it's what she wants to do, and she's getting the opportunity to play against the best players in the country. And overall, anytime you get that opportunity, you have to take it. And I think she absolutely made the right decision.
Nice. So is she going to be living with a family, a separate family, a non-related family out
So
there?
we're lucky. Her dad actually is going to live there with her, and
Mm.
so that's why we actually went out last weekend too. They got an apartment out there, and he'll stay with her out there. He's lucky that the job that he has allows him to not have to work directly from New Mexico, so he'll be able to move out there and live and have a place for her to live out there, which will make it a lot easier. Um, so I mean, not everybody can have that opportunity, but we're very thankful that it's available for her for this fall.
Mhm. Yeah, that definitely makes it a lot easier because there are some kids that I know I had on the club team that I coached that they moved to a boarding school
Yeah,
and they were in dorms at 15, 16 years old. And you don't think about the little things like doing laundry and the discipline of nobody telling you to do your homework and you need to
right.
do it. You end up learning a lot about yourself when you're out on your own, especially at a young age. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think I think that's good. I mean, but at the same time, I'm thankful that her dad will be able to be out there with her
Yeah.
through the transition. It'll be nice.
Yeah, for sure. That support is huge. So I want to go back to the rest of your journey. You talked about, I think, your career up to high school, but let's go back to your career in high school and the next stages after that.
Sure. So I played high school basketball at La Cueva High School here in New Mexico. Um, it was a great experience. Lucky enough to win a state championship 1994, which is a long, long time ago. We just had our 25th anniversary of our championship this year,
Oh
and
wow.
so all the guys came back. It was fun to see them, with all their new kids, new generations, and then it just made us all feel old. But but it was fun.
It's all in the mind.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And yeah, so just played in La Cueva for 4 years under Frank Castillo, who actually just won a national coaching award last week. He's the only coach that's ever been at La Cueva High School since it opened in 1986. So
Oh wow.
you don't have a lot of coaches that have that kind of tenure anymore. So he's
Yeah.
he's still going, which is great. Coach has been awesome. But yeah, just finished up the high school career and headed off obviously to the University of Arizona to play for Coach Lute Olson, and uh, that was just an exciting time in my life all around. Was those 4 years?
Mhm. What was your recruiting experience like? I imagine UNM tried to get you to stay in Albuquerque, and you probably had offers across the country because you were a big man, but also with really good agility and good feet. So, what was your recruiting process like?
Yeah, I mean it was kind of so that's was kind of an interesting part of it too is when I talked about my parents had divorced, so I spent summers in the Chicago area, so I had a lot of interest from like I said, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois. So I would play summer basketball, in the Chicago area growing up until the last couple of years when I played for a New Mexico team. But so I had a lot of interest from Midwest teams, and then obviously the New Mexico and Arizona were really the two schools that came. down to my final decision. So I narrowed those down before my senior year started. I only took two official visits actually, one to New Mexico and one to Arizona. So I'd already kind of narrowed it down by that time. Um, so yeah, I mean, New Mexico, there's a lot of interest there, and I almost went there, but just wanted to try different challenge and get away from home, play for a Hall of Fame coach, and really play at the highest level I could at that time.
Mm-hmm. So, what was the main difference between high school and college, or main differences that you experienced?
And from an athletic standpoint or life standpoint or both.
Let's go with both.
Okay. Uh, I mean, from a life standpoint, I mean, just like we just discussed, I mean, there you have there is a lot of structure because they kind of lay out your whole entire day for you, as a team where you're going to practice from this time to this time. You're going to study hall after that. You're going to training table to eat with your teammates after that. We got video, so it's very structured, but it's also you still have a lot of personal responsibility, especially from an academic side of things. Um, you have to put in the work, and as an athlete in college, there's so many other things going on that you really have to be dedicated and care and put the time and effort into your school. And so I'd say that was the biggest difference. Off of the court, on the court, I was just bigger, faster, stronger. Immediately. You could see the difference that even if you're the best player in New Mexico or you're the best player from where you're from, now you're playing with guys that are all like that or more athletic than you, or and so it's kind of an eye opener right away. But once you get, even the first week there playing with our guys and like our open runs and getting out there, you start to see like, hey, I belong here. I can do some things here, and it kind of just grows from there. So I would say that those are the two differences. But yeah, I mean, college, from high school to college, from an athletic standpoint, is just the athletic ability is way, way different.
Mm-hmm. So, how much did the coaches or the staff hold you, the players, accountable off the court for academics and behavior, that kind of stuff? Or did you guys just have that?
So that's one thing I really liked about Coach Olson and the Arizona staff was they treated us like men, and so there wasn't a lot of babysitting. Like we didn't have curfews. When we went out, on a road trip, we didn't have. Um, they really didn't babysit us. They sat us down. When we first got there, said this is what we expect of you. And you need to be on time. You need to handle your business, and we're going to allow you to do that. If you do all of those things, then we'll leave you alone. And so it's at some places, everyone I've heard other guys and talked to other guys where, they were under lock and key all the time and they couldn't go anywhere and they couldn't do anything. And Arizona really wasn't like that. He just expected us to behave as gentlemen, and if you did that, then it was you could pretty much have a free time, and you were free to do what you needed to do outside of the times where we were required to do stuff for the team.
And if you didn't do that, what happened?
Then you had to sit in the middle of the court on a chair while the rest of your teammates ran suicide.
Oh,
that,
no.
that's one of the that is one of the worst. That's I think it's very effective.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, if you missed a class or you were late or you were messing up, on your grades, you would have Coach also would make you sit in the middle of the court. So you weren't running with your teammates; it was just your teammates running because of your
Mm,
mistake, and you just had to sit there and watch them run for until it was
wow.
over. And so there was a lot of self policing, I would say, even within the team
Yeah.
after that. So guys, and really, that's one thing that I'm very thankful for about the guys that I played with at Arizona is we held each other accountable. We wanted you didn't ever want to be the one that made a mistake on the court or off of it. You just wanted to live up to the standards that kind of we all have for each other, and so that made it a lot easier, I think, for Coach Olson too. But he's the one that instilled, that kind of attention to detail and um, really family atmosphere that we did have, at when I was at Arizona, which was really awesome to experience.
So, were you ever in the middle of the court in a chair
I was not.
watching your
I did not.
teammates?
No, no, no. I'm pretty good at being on time, at
Yeah.
least. So try to get there early and don't miss class. I mean, that's pretty easy to
Yeah.
follow, I think. So I was not, but yeah, it happened a few times. So, but it didn't happen. That was one of my freshman and sophomore years. It happened maybe once my freshman year, twice my sophomore year, and then there was no more after that. So,
Done.
guys, kind of, yeah, we got that was out of the system by then.
Yeah, there's nothing like a little bit of shame from your peers.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep you motivated and on track. So, your sophomore year was the year you guys won the national championship. What was that season like from the beginning to the end?
So that's an interesting. It was just an interesting season all around. We that year we weren't. Um, we had a lot of young guys. We weren't really expected to, compete for a championship or anything like that. We had a lot of talent. Mike Bibby, Miles Simon, Jason Terry, Michael Dickerson, um, guys that eventually would play a long time in the NBA. But um, we were just kind of finding our way that year, and we were a good team. We beat some top 10 teams that year. We played fairly well up until the uh, Pac-10, what Pac-12, what it is now, but Pac-10 um, season, and the we lost the last two games of the Pac-10 season that year, and ended up so we were 20 or 19-9 going into the NCAA tournament, and for there had never been a team from Arizona that had ever had 10 losses in a season while Coach Olson was
Oh,
there. So
wow.
there wasn't a lot of hope for us, I would say, and a bit of disdain for our team even before the tournament started,
Wow.
for even from our own fans. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
people didn't believe that we were going to do anything in the tournament that year. I think they thought we were going to lose in the first round, and
Uh,
so um, it was kind of a uniting, thing though for us. So it was kind of it really galvanized, us inside of the locker room and with each other to go out there and make a statement for ourselves. And so it was really a driving factor for us throughout that entire tournament.
mhm.
And we the first two games of the tournament that year we were down 10 in each of those with about 5 minutes to go, and came back and won, and then played against Kansas, who was the number one team in the nation that year, the entire year long, with Paul Pierce and Rachel Friends and some of
Oh,
these
wow.
older names now, but they were 34-1 the entire season up until that game when we played them in the Sweet 16, and we beat them, and then um, we played Providence to go to the Final Four, won in overtime in that game in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four, and then matched up with North Carolina and Vince Carter and
No.
Anton Jameson in the semifinals and beat them, and then played against Kentucky and Rick Pitino and all of those guys and beat them in overtime.
Uh,
So we were the only team to ever beat three number one seeds in one tournament, and it was just a surreal experience. It was something that you know it just lasts it lasts forever, but every year it kind of gets, more special. And the guys and, the family memories that we experienced during that time is just a fun time every single year because all of us get to kind of relive it every time the tournament comes around each year.
mhm. Do you get together with your old teammates from that team?
We do. Usually at Arizona, or, the last time we got together was a couple years ago for Coach Olson's 80th birthday. Um, we'll kind of try to all get together in Tucson um, and rehash the the good old days and
Mm.
hang out with Coach.
Hmm.
But more, a lot of those guys, they're still my best friends. Like, and now it's different to be talking about, how we're raising our kids and what sports they like and how our kids are doing and issues and parenting tips and things. It's just different. It's really cool to kind of see how relationships have expanded over the years and kind of grown into now that we're all grown ups and have families of our own. How we're still keeping that connection going.
So, if I made you choose, what is more meaningful for you today? Is it the experience of winning a national championship or the journey that you went on with your brothers?
It's the journey, and that's the thing that can't chemistry is something that's very underrated. I would say. And especially nowadays, like even with like for an NBA example, just throwing a lot of good players together on the team on paper sounds good, but how is how are their personalities going to fit? Um, how are their work ethics going to fit? How are the little things that really go into a team with perfect chemistry? We had that year, and I've been on a lot of teams, over my career. I've been on other teams that have won championships, but that team, the Arizona team that year, was one of the greatest experiences and best chemistry that I've ever seen, and so that's where you remember that more than actually winning is great and all of that, but it's more of the relationships and experiences that you had on the way there is what you remember the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. And I think a lot of parents lose focus on that for their children because we're so focused on the outcome of what our children are getting and not the journey that they go on and what they learn about themselves and establishing those relationships that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So, chemistry obviously is really important in achieving success. And I think that you see it in the two teams that were in the NBA Finals this year, Golden State and Toronto. They played as a team with superstars,
Right.
whereas some of the opponents that they played along the way had superstars, but were more reliant on their one on one skills to make buckets, basically. So, is chemistry on a team something that the coach can mix together, or is it up to the players, or how do you develop that kind of energy or that type of chemistry that you experienced on that '97 national championship team?
I think it's a mix of both. I mean, I think that with our '97 championship team, I think Coach Olson, one of his greatest um, talents and skills was picking guys by personality that were going to fit together, and so he didn't pick up through when I was playing, we didn't have a ton of like McDonald's All Americans or like guys that were like, 1 through 10 ranked on the team. We had guys that were, from 25 down or, to 100 or whatever. Still talented guys, but guys that he picked specifically to fit into what his vision of the team would be.
Mm.
And um, so, like, I was a really good player in New Mexico and I was a good player nationally, but there was guys, a lot higher, ranked a lot higher than I was. But he told me when he recruited me that, I fit into his plan of what the team was going to look like for the next few years. So, that's why he was recruiting me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that starts with that, but then the coaching, I mean, it's just really, it's teaching your guys to sacrifice, and for the team goal. I mean, you see it with, um, you saw it with Toronto too. I mean, but you see it with the Warriors. Those guys can get a shot off anytime that they want, but they don't. They swing the ball, they move the ball. Everyone's involved, and everyone feels like they're a part of the team. And so that's something special. That's what I mean. Golden State's the first team to ever do that with guys that are that talented and that could really be like you said. And some of the other teams that they face, there's one or two guys that to handle all the responsibility. Golden State's formula is special, and that's what every team is really searching for, which is sacrificing, giving up a good shot for a great shot, trusting your teammates, um, and really keeping everyone involved. And that's where you get kind of a mix of championship, um, material. It's Steve Kerr. I mean, this that kind of comes from Coach
Mm.
Olson's tree. So, those he expanded on it, and I played with Luke Walton, um, at Arizona, obviously, and he's now at Sacramento. But when he was coaching a stretch with the Warriors when Steve was out with a bad back, and they had won like 24 straight games to start the season. And I asked him what kind of offense he was running, and he said, a lot of it was stuff that we used to run in Arizona mixed with stuff that Steve learned from Coach Popovich at San Antonio, and kind of all of these philosophies are the same though. They're all team based. Um, free moving, flowing. Like there's not a lot of set plays. It's just more of a motion, reacting to your teammates, knowing where they are on the court, which makes it very hard to guard and play against. So, yeah, I mean, it's been fun to watch, at a pro level for the Warriors. But I do think a lot of that base came from stuff that Coach Olson was doing at University of Arizona. That's moved up the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems so simple to me. Like, yeah, you play as a team, at the NBA level. There's more of a team aspect at the college level. So why do you think more coaches don't do that at the NBA level?
I think they want to. You know what I mean? I think that everybody wants to do that, but I think it comes back to what we talked about. It's like the personalities.
Mm,
I mean, it's hard to. But I think coaches in the NBA is tough because it's a different kind of power dynamic. The players have all the
mm-hmm.
power. In college, the coaches have all the power. So it's no player is gonna get a coach fired in college. It's not going to happen. But in the NBA, that can happen pretty quickly if you run a stray of your franchise player. A lot of times the coach is the one that's going to be out. So I think that they have a little bit tougher job there.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to hold your team accountable. I mean, it's about a work ethic. It's about identity for your team, and if you establish that from day one, I think a lot of teams have done that though. To be honest, I think Golden State was the only one, along with like San Antonio, but they had that kind of as their base. But you've seen a lot of other teams now play that style because they had no chance. You don't have a chance beating a Golden State or even a Toronto by just playing through one guy or two guys that take all the shots. Like that's not the way the game is played anymore, and I'm happy to see it because that's the way basketball is intended to play.
Right.
And I think you've seen a lot of teams, get to that motion, ball movement, swing, really keeping everyone involved, and is the only way that you're able to beat these teams, which I think is great for the game overall.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can definitely tell that it sets teams apart, even teams with the best players in the
Right.
world. If you can play as a team with the best players in the world, there's no stopping you. So you had a couple more years at Arizona and then got drafted in 99 by the Cavs. What was your NBA experience like?
It was short. but no, I mean it was incredible, and to be honest, at the time, like I really felt that I could have been a first round pick or should have been a first round pick, and so I was kind of disappointed that I didn't get selected in the first round, um, but I was thankful to be selected at all, and to be picked by Cleveland. It was a kind of an interesting time there. They didn't have a GM, they didn't have a coach. The previous GM was actually Wayne Embry, who was one of the first African American general managers in the NBA,
Hmm.
that picked me, which was cool. I thought,
Yeah.
but he immediately left for
Uh,
after the selection. So,
oh no.
um, but I it was a great experience in terms of realizing your dream and seeing what it took to get there, living an NBA life for a little while, um, was great. And I think I got everything that I could out of the time that I was in the NBA, and it helped me with the next part of my career once I started playing overseas after that. So it was a good experience. Um, I think that I enjoyed the path that I took after it. with the playing in Europe and things like that. But I'm very thankful to even have been selected in the NBA. That's a dream that all kids, look for. So
Hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of people take it for granted because they don't know, but there's a major difference between getting there and staying there.
yeah,
Especially year after year as you get older, because there's a new crop of players coming up underneath you that are younger and hungrier because it's new to them.
absolutely. And it's hard. That's what the first round gives you some security because at least you have a few years to kind of figure it out and you know for them to work with you and give you some chance to develop. But everyone has their own path, and I think that everything works out the way it's supposed to. So
So you transitioned from Cleveland straight to Europe, or was there somewhere in between that?
no, so I Cleveland. I played the half of the year with Cleveland, and the second half I played actually in the CBA, which is now the G League or developmental league, which was actually a really fun experience. I had some really good times there with the guys that I played with, and then I had gone to summer league with the Seattle SuperSonics actually when they were still in Seattle,
Hmm.
and had an opportunity to go to veterans camp with them and try to continue to kind of fight for the NBA dream. But I got an offer to go play in Spain, around that same time, and it was a good team. It was a good financial situation, and I just decided to take that and see what happened there. So I started my career in Spain.
Hmm. Now, I've lived in a lot of different countries, especially as a young child, and I found that I learned a lot about myself every time I was in a different country. So I imagine it was the same for you, especially as a professional. So if you could pinpoint one thing that you learned most about yourself when you were living abroad, what would it be?
Just uh, how much I love the game of basketball
Mm.
because, to be honest, it was tough. Like the first year in Spain was tough. Like I lived in it's a great city of Valladolid, which is about an hour and 15 outside of Madrid, but it rained the entire year. Um, my Spanish, it was I had taken Spanish, at college and in high school, and growing up in New Mexico, you have a little bit of base of Spanish, um, but not anywhere close to being able to converse with my teammates yet. So, I mean, you're kind of just in a very uncomfortable situation. My head coach spoke no English at all.
Oh.
So I had to translate everything through the assistant coach who spoke a little bit of English. so, so it was a tough year, but it was a good year. I mean, it was it was lonely at times. I did have another American on my team, John Hot Plate Williams,
Mm.
and he really helped me as kind of really as like a family figure. I mean, he had his wife there at that time, and they really, I was at his house almost every night. They cook dinner and you kind of do some watch some TV because he had the good TV, good TV box. I had like two channels. My favorite show was on BBC. It was like Top Gear, and they showed like
Nice.
the new the new cars. Yeah, that was the only show that I like could understand.
Hmm.
Um, so it was an experience that first year for sure. But I played really well actually, and I just it really allowed me to be in the gym a lot and really develop my game to a higher level, which really actually helped me in the end. So I'm thankful for it. But yeah, it's an uncomfortable experience living overseas, especially that first year when you lived in the United States your entire life. But I
Hmm.
wouldn't change it for anything.
So when did you decide, okay, I've had enough as a professional and let me transition into something else?
All right, so played um, 7 years total in Spain, and then I played 2 years in Riga, Latvia, in Eastern Europe,
Oh,
which was
wow.
an experience there as well. But
I
really
bet.
enjoyed that. Um, and then at that time, I was actually having some just health problems. My back was hurting me tremendously. I'd had about 2 years of just kind of fighting back problems, and then I was just kind of burnt out, to be honest. I was just, I'd been overseas for almost 10 years. The grind of it, my body was, not feeling good, and it just kind of became not as fun as it, had always been. And, when you get to professional level, that can happen, obviously. It's more of a job. It's not, like it was when you were, in high school or college, but, it was just, I was missing my family at home. I just felt like it was time to just, you know, end that chapter of the life and move on to the next. So I was thankful, and got to play 10 years professionally is something that a lot of people don't get to do, and I recognize that that was a special thing for me to be able to do, and but I was okay with at the time just looking for something else. Let's do something else now.
Mm-hmm. So you were ready.
I was burnt out,
Yeah.
man. That's what
Yeah.
it was. It just wasn't fun anymore. It just wasn't the same game that I grew up loving, and you know, yeah, I think the being so far away too, just it takes a toll on you, and back then it wasn't as easy as it is now. There wasn't ton of FaceTime
Mm-hmm.
and easier ways to kind of stay closer to your family. It was a lot harder back then.
Yeah. Yeah, and that level of burnout can happen not just at the professional level, but obviously the college level, high school level, or even youth level. And I think that's where parents have to be careful in contributing to that burnout. But it sounds like your parents let you just enjoy your journey without putting too much of their 2 cents and their energy or their desires for what they wanted you to be like. They just let you do your own thing.
I think it's a balance too, because I think they would say from once I got to college and through the collegiate years that maybe they should have had a stronger voice,
Hmm.
and gave a little bit more guidance, just from the sports side of things. And but I think that um, growing up, they had a perfect balance of allowing me to kind of find my own way and do what I needed to do to improve and still enjoy the game, so that I was not peaking. Once I got to high school, like some kids do now, and they end up not playing or not enjoying it as much once they are in high school. Like that never happened to me. It happened to me, when I was 30 years old. So
Yeah.
at least it got, I had a longer stretch.
Yeah. So, what kind of advice did you want to hear from them when you were in college?
I think just, you know, even at like in Arizona and stuff, I mean, there's parents that just had more of an influence, or, talked to the coaches more, or, had just more of uh, like a strong presence in where I went, or if I went to a camp, or what I should have been doing, um, to like it is now, like to get more exposure even for the NBA or whatever it was, just so um, just giving kind of being more involved and plugged into like the politics of things, I
Hmm.
guess is how I could put it the best. And they never did, and I'm thankful that it made it comfortable for me. But I think that once, as being a coach and you've coached at high levels, and you need to know kind of the political lay of the land as well. Once you get to like big time college, or starting to get into the pros a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, if you had some bits of advice for parents who are raising athletes, what would they be?
I would say enjoy the ride. uh, I would say um, support your kids fully, but let them learn and fail and um, set their own path. Um, it's good. It's good to be there for them and give them advice, but let them enjoy the game for what it's supposed to be, and that's really for teamwork, learning how to to work hard, learning how to overcome obstacles, um, and I think if you can do that and let them enjoy their path, they'll be fulfilled, and I think that their journey will last a lot longer. because they're actually enjoying the sport for what it's supposed to be, which is supposed to be fun and competitive, um, but overall just to help them grow as people.
That's awesome. Yeah, just enjoy their journey and let them go on it. Beautiful.
Exactly. Yep.
AJ, I appreciate your time today and letting us delve into your history as a young child, your time at the U of A, and as a professional. And best wishes to you, Dalen, Drew, and Oceana, and hopefully we'll see you around town sometime.
Absolutely, Gabe. I appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing. It's very much appreciated.
All right. Thanks, AJ. All right, thanks for listening to this great interview with AJ Bramlett. Please move on to the next episode and listen to my takeaways. All right, hope you enjoyed. Much love to you and many blessings.